Kenjaku, formerly known as Noritoshi Kamo, currently known as Suguru Geto, and arguably the biggest antagonist in the Jujutsu Kaisen series. At a first glance, his methods and motives may seem unclear, but in this video I'm going to go over his history, abilities, and his plan that makes him arguably one of the best characters in the series. Kenjaku's first documented appearance in the Jujutsu world was as a man named Noritoshi Kamo, whose body Kenjaku took over using a curse technique that can swap the brains of sorcerers. Within this body, the things he did made him remembered as the most evil sorcerer in history, likened to a stain on the big three Jujutsu families. In the Meiji era, there was a woman with the ability to bear a half-human, half-spirit child. She was banished by her family and fled to a temple in the mountains ran by Jujutsu sorcerers. Among them was Noritoshi Kamo, who kept her a prisoner and performed numerous experiments with her, resulting in her having 9 pregnancies and 9 abortions. These 9 abortions would be known as the death painting wombs. 3 of these were stolen from Jujutsu Tech and incarnated, being Iso, Kechizu, and Choso. It's also important to note that Noritoshi mixed his blood in with some of these paintings, which is the reason why Choso was able to use the Kamo family's blood manipulation. At some point between the end of the prologue and the start of the actual series, Kenjaku swaps to Geto's body, the only visual difference being that he now has a stitched scar through his forehead, showing the line he cut when implanting his brain into Geto. While in this form, we actually get to see his personality and how he interacts with spirits and sorcerers. As shown relatively early in the series, Kenjaku is willing to work with cursed spirits such as Jogo and Mahito to achieve his goal, and is even seen playing board games with the latter. Despite this, he doesn't see them as equals whatsoever and comes across as generally condescending. During his conversation with Yuki, we find out that Kenjaku believes the next stage of human evolution isn't removing themselves of cursed energy, the ideal she's working towards, but rather the optimization of cursed energy. This belief is the reasoning for all of his unethical experimentations, and I'll expand on this in a short while. As a result of taking over Geto's body, he has access to his innate abilities, the main one being cursed spirit manipulation. This technique allows him to condense, summon, and control cursed spirits for his own desire. He can also use the cursed techniques of the spirits that he summons. Their strength ranges from the fodder that Yuta was easily able to kill, to a special grade that can cast its own domain expansion. Just let that sink in. Due to curse spirit manipulation, he's also able to use Uzumaki, which combines a huge number of curses into a powerful attack which disappear on use, but their curse techniques are still available to the user, and with this technique he's able to condense Mahito and gain his idol transfiguration technique. And not only are his techniques insane, he's able to box and easily overpower Choso in purely hand-to-hand combat, which is no small feat. Aside from being insanely strong, he's also extremely intellectual, but I mean, given the fact he's been alive for like 1,000 years, it would be kind of hard not to be. He's able to quickly deduce the strengths and weaknesses of curse techniques and has a good understanding of Jujutsu as well. He's an extremely skilled manipulator as he planned to make Mahito and Jogo grow just to absorb them. As I said earlier, Kenjaku believes that the next step for humanity is the optimization of cursed energy. We later find out that he wants this to happen in order to recreate a golden age of sorcery, as well as a chaos that he cannot control. And the Culling Game is started by him with idol transfiguration in order to achieve this goal. When the Culling Game first started, Yuji was counted as a player from the very beginning, despite not entering any colonies. In the same chapter we find this out, it's heavily implied that Sukuna made a binding vow with Kenjaku to turn him into a cursed object, which are the fingers, when he was previously a human, meaning that as soon as Yuji successfully became a vessel for Sukuna, he was always going to be a part of the Culling Game. Kenjaku also states, "The people who I had ingest cursed objects like Yuji," implying that he knew Yuji wouldn't die when he ate the finger. But how? As we see in a flashback, Yuji's mother has the trademark scar on her head, indicating that Kenjaku had possessed her body and conceived Yuji. Yuji was made for the sole purpose of achieving Kenjaku's goal. His supernatural strength before becoming a vessel also makes a lot more sense due to Kenjaku being one of his parents. Choso's supposed brotherhood with Yuji also makes a lot more sense with this information in mind. Based on this, it seems like Kenjaku intended for Sukuna to be a part of the uncontrollable chaos and the golden age that he wants to create. Their goals seem relatively similar, and Sukuna is pretty much chaos incarnate, but I do think that the goals of Sukuna may have changed as a result of him meeting and interacting with Megumi based on his reactions and language. Based on what Tengen said, it seems like Kenjaku wants to create the golden age through the Culling Game and using curse spirit manipulation to fuse Tengen with every person in Japan, enhancing their Jujutsu power and marking the beginning of his proclaimed golden era. Things have fallen into place perfectly for him for this to be able to happen. In the past, his plans were stopped shot twice by the users of the Six Eyes. He killed a Six-Eyed user less than 1 month after they were born in an attempt for his plans to succeed, but a user appeared regardless, stopping his plans again. Due to what seems to be fate, a Six-Eyed user is always present, so we resorted to sealing Gojo with the prison realm rather than attempting to kill him. Then you have Toji. A complete anomaly killing the Star Plasma vessel meant that Tengen's aging process was accelerated, allowing him to be fused with. And the appearance of Geto, someone with cursed spirit manipulation, meant that everything Kenjaku needed to continue with his plan was in existence. Something interesting to note is that in chapter 167, we see Kenjaku talking to the Chinese government. Based on their formality, it doesn't seem like it's a first time thing. A potential theory I have is that he's selling curses and curse techniques to China in order to kickstart a global power struggle, with the world superpower having access to powerful curses. Of course, this is all for the sole purpose of generating more chaos. He's a character centered around the sole idea of control, but ironically enough, his end goal is to have a lack of it, and is likely to be his demise. I've likely missed something completely, or you may have another theory yourself, and I'd be interested in hearing them, so drop a comment below. That's all from me, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.